this.
Mm.
It goes back to this. We've had multiple overdoses in the last 2 weeks
Mm.
on fentanyl.
Mm.
And they turn around and put a JPay blast out. I call it JPay blast. I'm not sure what it's called.
Yeah.
From the administration warning about the use of fentanyl.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, shouldn't you be more concerned about how prisoners are getting fentanyl? All right. Welcome back to Prison Talk with Jamie Meade.
And Emma Charleston.
And we're concluding the episode on the emergency response team and their tactics in an attempt to use intimidation to silence free speech.
Mm.
Going, searching my cell. And while we was off record, not recording, you had brought up Timogen or Kensu, which we call him. And you go ahead and tell us what.
Well, I had just said that I was explaining to the girls in the group, that you had said that only 5 cells or 5 rooms had been searched and that they weren't doing anything wrong.
That was on 5 rooms on my wing alone out of 30.
Out of 30. And and then Paula had just mentioned, she sort of asked, what did I mean by, because I think I said politically active or something like that. And she just asked what I meant by that. And I just sort of said what I thought you meant by that, because I hate speaking for other people. And then she said that must explain why Ken Sue was searched as well. Because I think it was one of the girls rang the facility and they said that the entire facility was locked down in that time. And it was happening in every... Well, I was under the impression it was happening in every unit. Someone somewhere was on a list.
Yeah, his unit was the last one to be searched, I believe. And he's in Unit 5. I was in Unit 5. Yeah, but the thing that's interesting with him, because they can't say it was his bunkie they were targeting, because he's in a cell by himself. Yeah. And Kensu has like 10 Foot Lockers. Yeah. So the only person they could be targeting was him. Yeah. And he hasn't been issued a misconduct in probably many years. And so what was the purpose of that? Well, he's always on the regular prison phone. He does podcasts, he does interviews with news media, he does so my thing is this. It goes back to this. We've had multiple overdoses in the last 2 weeks on fentanyl. And they turn around and put a JPay blast out. I call it JPay blast, I'm not sure what it's called, from the administration warning about the use of fentanyl. Yeah. Now, the thing is, shouldn't you be more concerned about how prisoners are getting fentanyl? If you have a house full of people in society that are heroin addicts, they can't use heroin unless someone gives it to them. Yeah. So, just leaving it at that. Where are prisoners getting it from?
Do you know what? This is interesting, because I was talking to my 17-year-old today, and I was talking about, I think I mentioned to you, I read an article somewhere that apparently a pigeon carrying a backpack had brought drugs into a facility. I think it was in Michigan, late last year, and I was just telling her how funny that was, and she said, "Mum, even I know that the visitors and pigeons," and she said it very dramatically, "don't bring in the drugs." She said, "Even I know who brings in it." And I said to her, "How the hell do you know this?" And she said, "I watch Orange is the New Black."
Oh, and what I wanted to tell you that occurred just between our last phone call. Yeah. My cellmate. Yeah. He had to go down there. They had confiscated or took like construction paper tag board that he does for his art projects. Yeah. And he had just purchased it in December. Yeah. And you can't have this. He has a receipt and everything saying he can have it and everything. Well, he went down here to speak to the sergeant. I wish I would have knew his name. Yeah. But the sergeant went back there and gave it to him. Yeah. Said, because he took his receipts down there, his purchase receipts. Yeah. He took his hobby craft card where it says he can have it in the cell. Yeah. And he saw the room number on the box,
Yeah.
106.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, now I know why they took this." He said, "You're shithead bunky." That was what he said.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so I sat there and had a conversation with my bunkie, and my bunkie's been incarcerated, I think, 10 years.
And to be clear, when they said shithead bunkie, they were referring to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is, even my bunkie, he says, "I've never seen." He said, "I'm in here with you. I know you don't do anything illegal." He said, "I've never seen them so concerned about someone because of his activities of trying to change the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
For his activities of speaking out about the abuse and the scandals of correction." And he said, "What is the concern?"
Yeah.
And if you think about it, our listeners, just think about it. What concern is it to corrections officials, the establishment,
Yeah.
of being transparent or the public knowing what goes on in here?
Yeah.
What is the concern? Why should they hate me more than the ones that selling drugs? Why should they hate me more than their staff that brings in drugs? Why should they hate me for the stuff that's going on?
Yeah. Well, obviously, because you won't shut the hell up, and they can't scare you with with their little army man activities. I mean, it's obvious, really. You shouldn't have to even explain. Like, if you can't figure that out, you've got some serious problems, I think.
Yeah. So because I was involved in a master's degree program, earned a graduate degree, getting straight A's. And I'm in the dog program, the leader dog for the blind. I'm in the Prison Fellowship Academy. All programs that you can't get in trouble. You can't be implicated into any trouble.
Yeah.
So what
is it?
What is so concerning? What makes me such a viable threat to them? Is it because I speak the truth?
It's probably a bad
because
attitude.
I'm exposing.
My
bad attitude.
Your bad attitude as far as they're concerned, but by the things you're saying.
And what do we talk about so far on our podcast? Mandatory minimums, why the state of Michigan should abolish mandatory minimums, why they should implement second look sentencing legislation. We talked about victims. Victims' rights, how they should not be overlooked. And what does that do to corrections? Does it show that maybe normalcy on my behalf?
Yeah.
Does it show maybe I see things? Or does it question, should I still be in here? Is that a concern to them that
people might actually
a potential
think,
release?
Yeah.
Do they want to keep people in prison to keep their jobs?
Yeah. Well, I think too what they did for me today was the first thing I thought after I found out what the hell was going on, because obviously I had to find out a few people what was going on before I actually spoke to you. But what I actually thought was that actually proves, in a sense, I asked you whether or not, it was realistic that guards and stuff would actually make it difficult for people, that were coming up for release. When we were talking about the second look, and you were talking about how they would actually do that sort of thing, I thought that actually perfectly illustrated, in a way, gave an example of how what you said actually isn't that far-fetched, really. Because it's a different thing, but the same thing. Especially considering you're a quote unquote shithead bunkie. I might start calling you that from now on. I'm joking.
But if you think about that, what if they do have second look sentencing and they don't like my political activities, so they keep coming in here writing me.
Good luck, Jamie. Good luck, Jamie. By the sounds of things, And
so that's putting more power into the hands of corrections officers that shouldn't even have the power
to begin with.
I've been. This is an interesting topic, because we just had a young man in Memphis, Tennessee, beaten by the cops on January the 7th.
Mm.
And he later died 3 days later.
Yeah.
And they just released recently the footage, body cams, street police, a camera on the pole that the police have. And it showed them just kicking his face, his head. And the newscasters, I watch CNN, Fox 2, local news, or Fox News, local news, and I'm listening to a lot of the retired police chiefs, retired experts in the field.
Yeah.
And one thing they all said, that because of the defund the police movement and all this topics of police brutality and killing people, unarmed people, that it has lowered recruiting rates of policing, of people going as police officers. And then they started talking about how they lowered the standards. They lowered education requirements. They lowered physical fitness requirements. They lowered all these standards that would normally be in place to fill these jobs. And they said two of the individuals that have been charged, two of the former police officers that beat Tyree, they were waived on some of those standards. Yeah. Now think of that. You have experts saying because a lack of
You have 1 minute remaining.
A lack of standards is the cause of this. Well, let's look at the Michigan Department of Corrections. Yeah. They require no education. 15 credits or something like that, 15 college credits, which they get through their academy. Yeah. So does that reduce the standards? Is that why they treat us the way they do?
Well,
is it the lack of education?
I think it's the personality traits of people that like to be in positions of power over others, personally. But
are we going to continue a third part to this?
If you want, I will allow it.
Yes.
If they let you ring back, of course.
We will continue on a third call. So please tune in, and I will call back in 15 minutes.
Good.
And then we can advise the listeners on what they can do to become a part of this abuse by corrections officials.
Yes. All right. Until then, bye.
Thank you for using GTL